Welcome to Machine Shop Tech Talk. I'm here with my buddy Tayler Goodyear, and something that really stops you from having a good year when you have unplanned downtime. So we're going to dig into one of the ways that everyone out there listening can have a better year, maybe even a good year. So Taylor, let's talk about that. Have you met a shop yet that actually likes having unplanned downtime?
No, no. That's the last thing you want to have in a machine shop is unplanned downtime.
You mean you don't want to go out there and have to tell your customers, oh, gee, sorry, Mr. Customer, my vertical's down right now. My horizontal's down right now. I'm going to have to push back your delivery a couple weeks because these parts got to come in from overseas. People don't like to do that.
Oh no, that's a nail in a coffin for some customers, and potentially gets you lost of contracts and stuff like that. But I mean, that's what we're here to try to figure out for you.
Like you're going to share your process with us in a little bit here as we break into this episode. But first, I know you and I know each other. I know about your passion and your commitment on the PM side, well, and all kinds of other stuff that you get up to. But Can you give just a little bit about your journey in manufacturing and what you do now?
Yeah. So I started as a machine operator when I was 18. I'm 32 now. Went to college for CNC technician, maintenance, industrial mechanics. I was a machinist for 5 years. Got out of that, decided I wanted to work on the machines instead of running them. Got hired in at an OEM manufacturer as a service technician, was there for a few years. Moved on to another one, was there for about 4 years, and then I decided that it would be logical for me to start my own gig. And lo and behold, almost 2 years later, here I am as a business owner, racking my head on if this was the best decision to do or the worst decision to do. So here I am, just struggling just like everybody else, man.
Well, and I feel you on making that decision. I made that decision a few months ago myself to kind of step out and do my own thing. So you're a couple of years ahead, so maybe you got some tips for me we can talk about off air. So let's dig into this PM beast. Like we started out by talking about unplanned downtime. Obviously nobody likes that, right? I was a little bit cheeky about that because I know nobody wants that.
No, absolutely not.
What process, let's say you're in a shop and you've got to start helping them set up PM. What's that process look like?
So the first thing I do is I do an inspection of the machine. So I run through your machine. I see what kind of wearable parts are basically falling apart, like wipers. Sometimes I'll crack open way lube units and I look at your suction units. I can always tell if it's ever been changed just by looking at the suction filter. And then when I determine that the suction filter looks horrible, then I know that more than likely a lot of the neglect has been on the machine as far as the PM side goes. So I go through that and then I build a parts list for the manufacturer, and then I give that to them and be like, hey, this is the parts that you need to order as a 6-month or a yearly PM process. If you decide to do that, we document all that, and I basically build an Excel file for you as for the parts. All that is labeled. I'll put timelines on when those parts should be replaced, oils and stuff like that need to be replenished. We figure out a logical timeline for those to be replaced as well. Swapping out coolant and tanks, cleaning the coolant tanks. Like we sit down and try to figure out, okay, well, if it wasn't being done before, what's the most logical downtime for you to take to do it now? And some customers will find like, okay, that's cool, because some customers just don't have the time to build the process. Well, that's why you bringing me in. I'm not just performing the process, I'm building the process for you. And when that process is built, you don't have to always bring me in to do that process. It's already built for you. You can have your guys in-house do it, but at least you have that process built. And I think that will cause longevity out of your machines and shorten the downtime of whatever could be related to simple PM processes not being done.
I love that because you're really clear about, look, like they could hire you, right? They could hire you or one of your guys to come in and perform all the PM for them if they don't have anyone in-house. But they could also hire you to come in and help them set up their own in-house process to keep these machines running. So either way, you've got something that's there to support them And both of these paths, whichever one they choose, is going to prevent that unplanned downtime, right? Like it's going to
Absolutely.
take it from the reactive side of the manufacturing process to the preventative side. And once you're planning it in, I mean, then you know when it's coming. It's not like, oh crap, the machine broke down last night on night shift, come into a flooded freaking shop, or the spindle's down and you got to deal with all that. It's like, okay, next week we're planning to do our PM and we know we're going to be down for 2 hours or whatever the time is for the operation.
Yeah.
And you plan accordingly.
I think having the process planned on paper or on your laptop or computer in front of you, it makes it easier for you to pull the trigger on the downtime, to take the downtime, because now you have a process in front of you. So now you already have an idea. It's like, okay, well, it's going to take so many hours to perform this. But this could also lead to the minimum amount of downtime. So do we maximize the downtime to do the PM process to minimize the actual downtime when something is caused by lack of preventative maintenance?
Yeah, well, and I like that you start with going over their equipment, right? Get a real good pulse on where everything currently is, and then you can set up the plan based on where the equipment currently is, right? So if there's shop owners out there right now that are watching this, like, yeah, but I stepped into this role and I stepped in with old equipment. I don't even know where this equipment is. They could also bring you in for that to figure out, okay, look, this is exactly where your equipment is. And you could lay out what the rehabilitation plan, the rework plan would be to bring that equipment up to being super reliable.
Absolutely. Like, I don't, as a CNC service repair company that I'm advertised as, I don't shy away from any kind of specific machine. The OEM is irrelevant to me. I try to tackle anything and everything. I try to keep an open mind. In the PM process, I try to do the same thing. If it's a Haas PM process, might be different to, a Mazak PM process, but together we'll figure out, like, okay, what's the best process and we might even find that a process for one side of an OEM can work on the other side of a different OEM. And we could sometimes make processes a little better. So I try to keep an open mind when it comes to older machines, or, some shops are a mix of completely different machines. They don't have 5 of the same OEM machines, but the processes can all come together and just be good for all OEM.
That's the benefit of working with you, is it doesn't matter, right? Like, because there's some OEMs that do really good about making sure their customers do the PM, but then they're only working on their own machines. Someone like yourself, when you come in to make this process, you're not going to exclude any piece of their machinery. You're going to help them go over all of it. You're going to make a plan for all of it. And like you said, you're going to pull different parts. Maybe, this OEM does something that actually benefits all OEM pieces of equipment, but the other ones just haven't figured it out yet. You've got the experience, you've got the the time in the industry, the time on service, and time with all these different OEMs that you can bring to the table to really support them.
Yeah, I've been doing service for about 10 years, I think, maybe 9 years. In those 9 years, I got to have experience with 5-axis machines, 3-axis vertical mills, all kinds of different orientations of turning machines. That experience definitely helps me when it comes to building a process for grinders. Like, I don't really offer workout grinders, but I don't shy away from it. So just keeping an open mind, keeping the experience in the back of my head, I think definitely goes a long way when building these processes for these companies.
So with all your experience, man, do you have any common things where you show up to these companies where it's like, always this one thing? Maybe there's a top 3 that's like usually one of these 3 is present. Something out there that people could look for right away with their machines?
The number one thing that I try to stress to customers is cleaning your bed troughs.
Okay.
And replacing your wipers on your way covers, because if chips get underneath your way covers and they build up in your troughs, you prohibit proper drainage of way lube, coolant, because those things are inevitable. Those things things, but troughs on most machines are built to where they have proper drainage. Well, when you build up chips in those troughs, a lot of bad things can happen. Programmable tailstocks, for a good example, they go up to the spindle and then they come back to a home position. Well, when you get chips in behind those tailstocks and they're coming back to home position, it'll just constantly pack and pack and pack those chips. And eventually you're starting to overload and the customer's calling me, hey, why is my tailstock overloaded? Well, pull your weight cover back and I can guarantee you that you just have chip package back there. And yeah, sure enough. But that's probably the number one thing that I try to stress when it comes to PMs. When I do PMs, I pull weight covers back. I clean the troughs. I try to make to where you can eat off of it. You know what I mean? As disgusting as that sounds, but that's just the proper way to do that. I mean, it is so important to keep those troughs clean. Second one, I would say cleaning of a coolant tank. Some customers don't like to swap their coolant. They don't like to, when they do swap the coolant, they don't like to pull their chip conveyor out and their coolant tanks out and actually clean them. Well, if you're blowing coolant motors once a year or, even quicker than that, probably need to just pull the coolant tank out and just clean the hell out of it. You know what I mean? The third one, electrical cabinet intake fan filters. Some customers don't I like to use this filter media. I'm sure a lot of manufacturers know what I'm talking about. Over time, there's oil mist in the air. It's inevitable in machine shops, You can ruin a lot of servo drives and electronics in your electrical cabinet if you don't properly filter the intake fans that are bringing in and taking out the hot air in and then bringing in the cool air. Be surprised you open up electrical cabinets on things that aren't properly filtered and you'll have clear oil sitting in the bottom of the electrical cabinet. And that's not good. If it's in the bottom of your electrical cabinet, it's on relay boards, it's getting on fuses, it's getting in contactors. That would probably be my top 3 right there.
Man, that's some hard hitting top 3, right? And I love that you touched on I really love that you touched on the areas where you see yourself getting called into, right? So the shops out there that are listening, it's like, look, if you're calling in because sensors aren't working right or things aren't reacting right, like you were talking about the troughs with the tailstocks, well, now here's somewhere to look. Maybe the service guys you're calling in aren't actually cleaning it out because it gets them in there more. Taylor's going to make sure you have a good year. He's going to go in there and clean it all out and make sure everything's proper so he doesn't have to come back again. Or the coolant tanks and the intake fans, because both of those, again, the coolants, you start blowing sumps, you start having issues. I mean, if someone doesn't have a clean tank, they're also going to see a ton of stuff on the machining side where they're having excessive tool wear or unpredictable tool life because now they're recirculating a ton of garbage in with their coolant and they're just shooting themselves in the foot and their jobs are taking longer. And then same with the intake fans, man. I ran an old, what was it? Toyota, a horizontal, and we had to get the boards replaced. And it didn't happen quickly, but when we installed the machine, we didn't put any filters on the cabinet. And you know exactly what happens after a couple years of no filter on the cabinet. You already talked about the oil in the bottom of the pan, right? Like these are, I've seen the impact as a machinist on the shop floor of when these things aren't done. So if I knew you were out there, you wouldn't have had your company yet. You're 2 years in right now. But man, if I could have paid someone to come in to make my PM process for me. Yeah. The amount of headache that would have saved everybody, not only just you, but the people up front looking at the paper like, yo, what the hell's going on? Or the scheduler that kept being on my butt because I was missing deliveries. And it's like, well, what's happening? Well, this happened to this machine, and then this happened to this machine, and then this happened to, and they're like, well, man, why does it keep failing? At the time, I didn't know. I didn't know, but the power, I was newer into my career, right? I didn't know about the power of PM that you are so clearly versed in.
I know a lot. It's hard for a lot of customers to take the downtime. That's the worst thing that you want to do is take the downtime. And I can't stress enough, you couldn't prevent a lot of things from happening, building up the downtime if you just take the 1 day, 8 hours, the worst case, maybe 16 hours, depending on the size of the machine. and you
Yeah.
could eliminate 40 hours of downtime. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
what's the equation? What's it worth to you?
Yeah.
So it's very important. I can't stress it enough. And I'm not just saying it as a point, because I know some customers might feel like it's a money grab maybe for service companies. I guess some, maybe you could argue
Maybe.
that, but when I build the process for you and I give it to you and I tell you, hey, you don't have to call me anymore, like you have the process, that's me caring about your machine. I don't care about they're gonna call me back, this is solidified work. I don't care. I could care less.
Yeah.
I just, especially for my local customers, man, I try to, those are my people. Like, those are the people I want to support the most when it comes to just keeping their machines going and minimizing the downtime. I got too much passion, dude. Like, I might have too much passion in this line of work, and I might suck at doing this, but that's that's just me, man, in the machining world. I've been like that ever since I started.
And to be fair, it might not be a great business practice, man. If you're telling me they could schedule you for 12 hours a PM and it's you're going to lose out on a 40-hour bill to fix their machine. I mean, really, you're costing yourself money at that point. They could book you for a straight week, or you could be in there for a day. Like, that's a big difference in billings for your company. So, I mean, that's a huge gift.
Yeah, I mean, I don't care though. It's not really. I think I try to stick to so much to down machines. Like, if I know a down machine is going on with a customer, man, I'm there as soon as I possibly can, because as you know, downtime is lost money. You're not making any money, so it's not really something that's in the back of my mind. Like, okay, you do the PM process, now you're gonna lose out. Arthur, I've got plenty of machines going down, dude, that I don't really care about all that. I just like helping. I've got a customer out in Utah, and they, just for an example, I'll try to make it quick, but they hit me up for phone support on a machine out there, and it was over the weekend. And I try not to work over the weekend. I try to give myself the weekend, so I helped them through the weekend and texting back and forth with their mechanic and stuff, and together we were able to figure it out over the weekend. Well, the guy calls me and is like, hey, I expect a bill from you. I was like, huh? He's like, yeah, you helped our guys, I expect a bill from you. I'm like, I'll tell you what, man, ship me like a 12-pack in the mail or something. Like, I'm not charging you for that. Like, I just want to help, man. I'm not here to try to poke and grab at little things here and there,
And your passion is clear, dude, right? I'll never say you got too much passion. I'm a passionate guy when it comes to supporting manufacturing. It's how we originally connected at IMTS.
Yeah.
But I love that you're super clear about this. You're like, look, if they can do PM, that's going to have you in there less so that you're available for other shops that have those completely unpredictable conniptions within their machines, right? Those errors that you possibly couldn't prevent. You want to be there for those guys. You want to make sure that these manufacturers are still able to produce and to meet their deadlines as fast and as efficiently as possible. So if everyone out there could just get their PM straight so that you can work on the stuff that you can't prevent, that sounds like it would be a better year, a good year for you.
Yeah. When manufacturing wins, dude, we all win.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
100%.
clear as day. So I mean, it's trying to give back. I'm trying to give back to my local customers and share my experience and my capabilities of, hey, you don't have to wait so long for service to come in for OEM or something. Like, I'm right in your back door. I'm ready. Like, I can come try to figure it out. At least I can't always promise I can figure it out, but I'm going to try to figure it out as best as I possibly can.
Well, and you're going to bring all that experience, man. That's a great place to stop. So for anyone listening, they're like, look, man, I want to talk to Tayler. I want to bring him in. I want to get my PM sorted. I am done with this reactive way of managing my machinery. I will put contact details down below the video. Tayler, thank you so much for making some time on this Saturday morning to sit here and chat PM with me, dude. Love the passion. Thank you.
Thanks, Arthur. Appreciate it, man.
To all the machine shops out there, keep your spindles turning and earning.